Welcome to the woods. It's another beautiful summer's day up here. Everything's in full flower. The birds are singing. And it seems 100 miles away from a lot of the problems, situations that face a lot of people. What I want to talk about isn't easy. I'm going to give you 3 examples of how bad things have got recently. But I'm a solutions orientated kind of guy. So please listen to the end of this video. It won't be that long, because there are solutions to the problems we face. I spoke about a month ago about a man who was in prison, been in prison for nearly 40 years for a crime he never committed. In fact, for a crime that never happened. His name's Clive Freeman, and I've spoken to Clive a number of times, and he wanted to pass on his thanks to everyone who had listened to his story and taken the time to sign the petition. And the petition isn't to free Clive, it's to change some of the legislation on the Criminal Review Board's setup. And I explained in that video the difference it would make. Many people heard that and contacted me. And although most were understanding, many of them could never see themselves in that position. They were never going to be wrongly committed of a crime. It was highly unlikely to affect them. And I understand that. But today, things are getting quite worrying. A few weeks ago, a man, we'll call him James, no need for full names, was arrested for operating an online radio station, a radio show where he spoke about current affairs. Now, you might not like his opinions, you might not like his views, but he was careful not to incite violence or hatred, but discuss topics that are usually not discussed in the mainstream. And for that, he was arrested, charged with hate speech, and imprisoned. And you would think that there must have been a catalogue of people that had written to the police and said how offensive this man's radio show was. In the years that James had run that radio show, not one complaint. No one complained. But the things he spoke about and his views run counter to those of the people that control and rule over us. And for that reason, he languishes in prison. just recently, yesterday, maybe the day before, a young woman, Caroline, I've got some notes, Caroline Farrow, some of you may have heard of her, she's been on TV, was arrested for misgendering. She either called a man or a woman when they didn't want to be. And you might think that in this day and age would garnish her a slap on the wrist and told to be more polite. However, she's an ardent Christian, married into the clergy, she's a mother, and won't be forced to buy into someone else's opinion or delusion. She has her own ideas and views. And for that, she's been arrested. She's been given an offenders manager. This is worth reading. She can't go on social media. She can't go on a gaming site. She can't go on a dating site without the written permission of the police or her offender manager. She has to allow the police into her home to search all of her electronic devices. She has to hand over all of her electronic devices and her passwords and PIN numbers and all electronic devices that are capable of going onto the internet that she has access to. That means her place of work, that means her children's phones, computers, her husband. And she has to register her address with the police every 12 months. And she hasn't even been to court yet for the crime of misgendering. Now, I will leave a link in the description of a content creator called Rotton that runs through this in detail. But when we've got to a situation in this country where you can be sent to prison for having an opinion that nobody has found offence with apart from the state, we're on very dodgy ground. And this isn't about land. Some of you will be sat there thinking this isn't the usual discussion. And you're right, it isn't. But it is about freedom. And incrementally, how they're taking that away. And we all understand the central bank digital currencies and how that will restrict you, and the 20-minute neighbourhoods and how that will restrict you, and how large global corporations are buying up the land and how that will restrict you. And I think incarceration is the final nail in the coffin, that if you oppose these things, if you try to speak out, then they take away all of your freedom. The future, if we do nothing, looks bleak. So we need to start coming together and pushing back in ways that will work. In the description to this video, I will leave a link to the petition again. This petition will change legislation which will enable people like Clive, people like James, and if imprisoned, people like Caroline, an opportunity to have their case reviewed. Whereas at the moment, unless they admit to a crime, they're unable. They're unable to have their case reviewed without first admitting guilt. So we can all do that. Sign that petition. Share this video. I said in my last one, I used to hear quite often that this is a free country. I can say what I want. And I don't hear it anymore. And yet it should be. I might not like your opinion. I might even detest your views. But I will fight for you to have the right to have them. In every way they can, they are trying to restrict your freedom. The Woodlander initiative is an opportunity for you to do something positive to help not only yourself but others like us, and give us a start and a chance to build something better than the future that they're offering. So please, sign that petition. You never know. And on the 14th of June, join the initiative. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the end. Give this a like, leave a comment. It's said by most people it helps with the YouTube algorithm thing. Share the video around, pointing out how bad things are. I don't like to do it, but when there's a opportunity of a solution to counter those things, I'm all for it. Speak to you soon, people.